favorite TV, advancing kingdom lifestyle.
Property and land is very important,
Right.
and it's the only key element for people to be able to measure their value. The earth sasa is a platform where we can be able to do the transactions, the land transactions online. We needed that platform to ensure that, number one, we have cut the cartels. Number two, we do not have the physical interaction between the advocates, the common mwananchi, and the people who are working at the ministry.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Gichuki Post. I'm your host, Godfrey Gichuki, and I'm glad that you tuned in. Today we are having a conversation. I have a special guest with me, and I want to welcome my guest to the show. Welcome John Simon Mwangi.
Thank you very much.
Very good. It's good to have you here, and I'm very pleased, to host you.
Yes.
Yes, we'll be talking about you just now shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, as you follow this conversation, if you're following this on TV, great, and thank you. The numbers on the screen, you can always get in touch with us. Those of you on the social media platforms, we would like to ask you to remember to subscribe to Elevate TV Kenya YouTube channel and our Facebook page as well, and make sure you activate the bell so that every time we go live you can get the notification. So welcome and share with your friends. Let's get the conversation underway. Today we're going to be talking about land titles and the push for digitalization. As you already know, that land titles are a big deal. If you own a piece of land in the state of Nairobi or wherever you own that piece of land, that's an asset. And there is, of course, the whole process of making sure that your title is real, is genuine, is correct, and is valid. And so there have been some changes that have been taking place. And today, we're going to kind of do some kind of sensitization, and my guest is going to be giving us details of some of the new developments that are taking place in the areas regarding titles, the new act, and the migration. So that's what the conversation is going to be about, and I'm going to be asking questions to help us go through that. Amen. Right. So, as always, the Gichuki Report is a platform for big, bold, honest conversation on a broad range of subjects, like I always say: social, economic, cultural, political, philosophical, theological issues. Today we're going to deal with issues economics, land economics for that matter, for those of you who are interested. All right, so briefly, like I've said, my guest is John Simon Mwangi. He's an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. He was signed up into the bar. Is it signing up or?
Admitted.
Admitted. Yes. He was admitted to the bar in 2018, and so he's been serving as an advocate, and he's a partner in the Mwangi, Kiai, Advocate LLP, that is a limited liability partnership, yes, and all matters to do with the partnerships. And he's going to be telling us more about his work and his career. And then we'll talk about the land and the digitization process that is underway. So welcome to the show, my brother.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you here. Now, I really think that there is a big conversation to be had, yes, in respect to matters land. But before we go to the details of that, let's start with your story, yes, your career. Tell us about your career and how you got to where you are.
Thank you very much.
Right.
So I was born in Kuresoi. That is the deepest part of Nakuru County.
Right.
Went to the local schools in Kuresoi. After the 2007 post-election violence, we moved from Kuresoi and we went to a place called Nyeri. And therefore there I was able to study and go to secondary school. And after that I went to Mount Kenya University, where I did now Bachelor's of Law. And after that joined Kenya School of Law, and I was admitted to the bar in the year 2018.
Right.
When I got admitted in the year 2018, I got employed. And then in the year 2020, you can see how my life has been marked by bigger events.
Yes.
So in the year 2020, that was our moment. We felt that this is a time for us to move out and start our law firm. And that is how we started in the year 2020 when COVID started. So we started as Mwangi, Kiai and company advocates. But later on, we transformed now to Mwangi Kiai Advocates LLP, meaning it's a partnership of other advocates, and I'm there as a partner.
Okay.
And therefore, from 2020, we have been there. Our offices are in Westlands, and this is what we have been doing from 2020.
Absolutely wonderful.
Yes.
Because I have interest in all kinds of things, I teach some bachelor students, and this week I was teaching them about LLPs,
yes,
limited liability partnerships, and giving them all kinds of theories.
Yes.
But here you are, so you have already formed an LLP. So maybe you can actually mention,
yes,
before we go to the land issues, what an LLP is,
yes,
and why that limited liability partnership.
Yes.
And I know partnerships are more appropriate for professionals,
yes,
lawyers,
yes,
accountants, and maybe doctors. I'm not too sure. Maybe you can expound a little bit on that, and why an LLP. What's the character of an LLP? So
the reason why we opt to go towards the LLP, it's because of two reasons. Number one, it's because of the liability. Mm-hmm. You remember, as an advocate, you are dealing with accounts of other people, the client, and so you'll find that at certain points, you will be exposed to certain liabilities that can come out of those accounts. So you do not want to operate as a business name, because if you do so, then if there is any liability, attaches direct to your own properties.
Yes.
So if there is, let's say, a liability of 10 million, that amount of money can be recovered from my account if I am using a business name. Okay. But when I am using the LLP, it is a corporate by itself. It's an individual by itself, and it's able to take care of itself. Therefore, if there is any liability, they can only look into the account of the partnership, they recover the money from there, and that's the end of it all. So number one is to protect the issues of the liability to the partners, and number two is to make the work easier, because then we are able to form an entity where I know I own 90% or 50%, depending on the types of the clients that I am bringing on board. And therefore it is easier when we are 2 or 3 sharing profit, because I know by end of it all, when we do our accounts, I am only getting 30% and it's not disputed. On the issues of the business name, you will find that all the time after a year or a month, you will have to sit down, do the maths, and then when you are done with the maths, start arguing, I need to take 50, you need to take, no. So in terms of the LLP, it makes the business easier, and also on the issues of tax. Instead of me filing tax using my own KRA PIN, then the business can be able to sort itself, because it has its own certificate, its own KRA, and therefore if there is any issue with KRA or the government, they do not come to me.
Yes, because the LLP has a life of its own. Yes. Is a body corporate, just like the normal corporation. Yes. And so it stands, and then of course you are shielded from liabilities of the LLP. Yes. All right, so that's a small one for my students. Those of you who are my students, I will share that link if you are not already watching and following this conversation. So thank you, Bwana Simon. Let's then now go to the issue of land. Yes. The sticking issue of digitization of land. Yes. And you can begin by telling us about the program. Yes. I'm sure it has a genesis and the impact it has had on land transfers and transactions.
Yes. Remember, before the year 2010, And I think I can remember that very well when President Mwangi took the constitution on August and said, now we have a new constitution, the 2010 constitution. By the time we were saying yes to that constitution and we were having the new constitution and celebrating, the constitution came with a lot of other things that were not open to the public. Like the common Wanjiku could not be able to understand what that document meant. So by the time we were having that constitution, one of the areas that changed is the issues of land transaction and how the land ownership in Kenya has been before that. And therefore, the constitution came up with a law where we can be able to appeal the previous laws and now domesticate and have our own laws. Remember, before then, we were using borrowed laws from India, UK, and mostly India and UK. Those were the laws that we were using. Even some of those statutes had the names India, and the other ones you will find them having the names from the UK. And therefore, we needed to have a law that we will be able to relate to, a law that is our own, so that we can be able to know how we are able to manage our land. And therefore, after the 2010, in the year 2012, we got two major statutes. One called the Land Act, number 3 of 2012, and another one, number 6 of 2012, that is the Land Registration Act. And those two statutes were able to repeal 8 statutes. Backward. Therefore, meaning all those titles that had been issued using those repealed statutes needed to be consolidated for them to be issued under the new law, the 2012 law. And therefore, the government from that year, 2012, started a program where we can be able now to consolidate the titles and issue them using the new regime, that is the new statutes. And therefore, that program started in the year 2012. But in the year 2020, that is when the government of the President Uhuru Kenyatta became serious on the issue. And they started now a program where every person says we have the Ardhi Sasa. And when we got the Ardhi Sasa, we thought it is a platform where we will be able to ease the issues of the transaction of the properties. That if you have a property and you want to sell, you do not have to take 3 months doing the transaction. Maybe you are selling because you have an emergency, you have someone who is going to hospital, or you have found another property where you want to purchase. Therefore, when we were having the issues and the idea of getting the Ardhi Sasa, the idea was that we will be able to do the transaction within a few days, and you get your money and the other person gets the property. That didn't happen because when we launched the Ardhi Sasa in the year 2020, it came up with a lot of challenges. Because we needed to move from the manual register to the online register. Trying to log to the Ardhi Sasa platform was an issue. I have heard people saying there is someone who tried to log and it stayed for almost a week before getting into the system.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, maybe we need to fill up because this conversation, ladies and gentlemen, it's more like we are doing a sensitization program, you know, giving you information that you probably are not likely to get out there. You know, there have been people who have gone through the training and they have ideas what's going on. So there is a lot in terms of the program, especially the program we are calling. So you need to explain what is Ardhi Sasa. Is that an animal in a Ardhi house, or what is it?
So the Ardhi Sasa is a platform, just like the portal you have when you want to transfer your motor vehicle. Just like the e-citizen. So it was an idea where we needed to have a platform where we can be able to do the transactions, the land transactions online. That you are at home, we just scan the documents, upload the documents there, then they do the verification on their end, and then when they've done the verification, they do the approval, and you get a text message giving you a code. That code is the one that you use to do the transfer. So the transfer is not being done by the advocate. It is being done by the owner of that property. And that person transfers to the other person, and you get that code and you give it to the other person. That person key in the code, and the transaction is done. Therefore, it is a platform where we needed to consolidate all the titles so that we can be able to have the online transactions. Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's very important. Since you've been in that space for some time, how well are we doing with the Ardhi Sasa? Has it had problems? And do you think, because I know every time you have a new platform, especially what we call enterprise resource planning protocol, ERP,
Yes.
Technical term,
Yes.
for those Christians watching, and you probably are not, what do you call it? IT literate. ERP is a code name for the platform.
Yes.
What's your view of that platform so far? Now that this is the third year, is it working well? Do you think we have reason to be hopeful?
We have reasons to be very, very hopeful, but the experience so far has not been good. It has been very, very, very bad, because you do the upload and you do everything that you're supposed to do, but getting the people on the other end to approve your documents and for you to get the results out of that platform, it takes a lot of time.
Okay.
And then defeats the purpose, because at the end of it all, after you do the upload and all these things, you still have to look for someone to do that work for you manually. And therefore, yes, we have the hope and we must keep the hope, but it has been a very painful process from the year 2020, especially for the titles within Nairobi.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think it's fair to say what we have is a kind of what do you call it? An abridged version,
Yes.
or rather, the process is such that it's semi automated.
Yes.
It's automated to a large extent because you upload the documents, they stay there, they can be verified that they are actually genuine in the system, but then you have to kind of like follow up for those who have now to do the actual approvals, so that then they can actually do their job, or rather,
Yes.
if you don't show up,
Yes.
there are many people queuing out there to be served.
Yes.
So you have to, to have employ yourself and get to follow up. So
The reason,
yes, go on.
the reason we needed the platform is, number one, to minimize the interaction between the persons who are doing the transaction and the registrar at land.
Yes.
Because that interaction created a platform for some people to enrich themselves.
Okay.
And therefore, when we were doing the platform, we needed that platform to ensure that, number one, we have cut the cartels, the people who control the land transactions in Kenya. Number two, we do not have the physical interaction between the advocates, the common mwananchi, and the people who are working at the ministry.
Okay.
So that we can be able to curb this animal we call corruption.
Okay.
Because you will book your documents today and you will not give them something, and I will book mine tomorrow and I will give them something and I will go home with my title. So that is what we were trying to address, that if I do not have money to give to these people, I can also be attended to, because they do not know who is uploading these documents.
Okay.
So that was the idea. But us having to go back and take the physical document, still look for them, tell them and beg them that we want you to do 1, 2, 3 for us, we believe the system is still not working.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's good for people to know that while the system is in place and the system is perhaps doing its job, but human intervention and the need for people to physically follow up, I think it's still there, and we hope that the new government would probably put more pressure for the other end, the back end,
Yes.
for them to surrender some of those processes. They are still insisting we have to go physically,
Yes.
and get them to do. Okay, fine. So that's where we are on the digitalization and the actual transaction. Let's talk about the land itself, because I think that land remains a sticking point in the economics of development.
Yes.
And do you think there is commitment on behalf of the state, the government, the players, and everybody involved in trying to, help this become just like in transacting cars?
Yes.
There are a lot of people who transact hundreds, if not thousands of cars transferred every day.
Yes.
Do you see that like we can actually create more value in that area?
Yes. I would want to give a scenario. There are people who are investing in other things. You find people investing in Bitcoin. You find people investing in applications. You find people investing in other things, and tangible things that you cannot be able to touch. And one of the amazing things that I have been able to observe is that you will find even these key people who have and own some of these platforms, like the people who owns Facebook, Twitter, they are very key and very quick to cash out. The moment they get the money from this platform, they cash out and get a piece of land.
Right.
Telling you that property and land is very important.
Right.
And it's the only key element for people to be able to measure their value. Even if you have 1,000 Bitcoin today and you do not own any property anywhere,
Yes.
we can confidently call you a poor person because you do not have a measure, an accepted universal measure of wealth.
Okay.
The moment you start owning land, you now start getting to a class where you can start feeling like now I have the real wealth with me. And therefore in Kenya, it is not different. You will find that a person purchases a property today for 1 million. 2 years to come, you find that property is going for 3 million. And therefore, the government is concentrating so much on the issues of land. And when we come to Kenya, land is also a very emotive issue. And I believe that is one of the reasons why this platform is not working. Because you will find that by just purchasing the property, especially the older generation, it is very hard for them to release that title. Some of them have even some sacrifices on the title. So by you telling them that we want to just do the conversion so that you can get another title, they won't release it. And therefore, it is also hard for the government to try and follow up on the process because some people are reluctant to obey the process and carry out the process. But I believe the government is very determined on this and is one of the key elements in their manifesto and everything they are trying to do and raise money is one of the key elements on their factors. And that is why even the people who have been appointed to that ministry, it's one of the different ministry from the other ministries.
Okay.
Yes.
And I hope maybe from where you sit, you have confidence in the administration that has been set up by the current government?
It's still very early, but we have confidence with them. We believe they are going to deliver.
Absolutely.
Because as a government, you cannot be able to ignore land.
Okay.
If you ignore land, then even if you raise the taxes to 100% and you ignore that factor called land, then you are not able to raise the money. Because remember also land is a factor of production. If
Absolutely.
you ignore it and it's not well managed, then you are not able to capitalize on what you can get out of it.
That's correct.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah, land is a factor of production. I think land holds, very critical role in the production of the nation,
Yes.
in the economy.
Yes.
And to the extent that that capital, because it's actually a capital,
Yes.
is not being leveraged sufficiently because any delay in a transaction, if you're trying to sell land and it takes you 2 years,
Yes.
it means that transaction, the value, whatever value you would have extracted from that transaction,
Yes.
is actually delayed and money is lost.
Yeah.
So that's correct. Let's then, let me ask about the whole idea of the what you guys are calling migration.
Yes.
So there is a discussion around, and that's what actually prompted me to want to have you here.
Yes.
On the set that the government right now is made a very loud announcement,
Yes.
although a lot of people have not heard,
Yes.
that they need to migrate their titles. If you hold a title that was cut out in 1952,
Yes.
it still has a few years left on it,
Yes.
and it's in the older
Generation.
it's referring to the 1945 Land Act of India.
Yes.
You need to transfer, you need to bring that title, and then you get issued with a new one.
Yes.
Maybe talk about that so a little bit, so, and draw light and say why that is the case and why the demand.
So at any given time when we amend laws, we must also amend the other factors that are affected by those laws. So by the time we were amending the laws in 2012 and we were getting the new statutes, what we were saying is that we needed to move those titles from the old regime to the new regime, the post-2012 regime.
Okay.
And then if you have that title and you are still holding it dearly to yourself and saying that I have a title, where we are headed is that those titles will mean nothing because you will not be able to transact if your title is the older title. And you must first of all go to towards that process that we are calling the conversion of the title.
Okay.
And what they are doing is that they are preparing the new cadastral maps. they prepare. This map is different from what we have been getting, because if today I apply for a map for my property, maybe in Limuru or any other place, you'll find that I am getting a map of a whole district, and therefore I'll spend a lot of time trying to locate my property. So this map that they are preparing right now, if I ask for property number 2 in Nairobi, I will get a specific map for that property, and therefore the only information that I will have is who is on my right and who is on my left.
Okay.
Yes, therefore I'll not get a title that has a lot of information where I spend a lot of time to try and see where my property is. And therefore that map will also have the size of the property, and that will show clearly the boundaries and how that property is cut off. And therefore it will sort out a lot of issues to do with the boundaries and those things. Then after the preparation of the maps by the survey department, the minister in charge of land, that is the cabinet secretary, the way we are calling them right now, will now need to do an advertisement. And they do the advertisement using 2 dailies. And those advertisement is to advertise and say, now we are starting with Nairobi, and this is the location that we want to start with, and here are the maps, and these are the new numbers. And therefore after that advertisement, they give 90 days to the common mwananchi, the owners of the property, for them to raise any objection or any issue with the new numbers. And that factor at that stage is very important, because let's imagine maybe your parents at that time, the owners of the property are deceased, and you're in the process of doing succession.
Yes.
And you know in Kenya how quick we are towards the property.
Yes.
So there is one of the sons or one of the daughters who feel, now I can own this property using the backdoor.
Yes.
So when the minister does the advertisement and you have an issue with the advertisement they have done on the issues of the map, and you are still going through the issues of succession, what you need to do is that you need to rush to the land registry, register your dissatisfaction with the advertisement on that specific property, and when you do so, they register a caution on that property.
Okay.
And therefore any dealing with that property is restricted until now the process is done.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to hold there, because we want to come back to that. We want to take a short break. So, ladies and gentlemen, I believe you're following this conversation. There are a lot of things that are coming, and so beware. They say caveat emptor, beware. There's still more we want to cover. So don't go away. Keep it Elevate TV. Let's take a short break. We are coming back to this conversation.
Black Adams Electronics, the home of Lipa Pole Pole. We have a variety of new phones, laptop, accessories, pre-loved smartphones, refurbished in the 254 at half the price. Purchase our warranted devices on cash or opt for a Lipa Pole Pole plan. Broken phone screen? Slow laptop? We got you. Our team is always ready to serve you. Visit us at Kenya Cinema Plaza, ground floor along Moi Avenue, Nairobi CBD. We open from Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. For discounted and special weekly offer updates, follow us on our socials at Black Adam Electronics. For more information, reach us on 0718271317. Black Adam, your satisfaction is our top agenda.
Are you looking for an opportunity to deepen your faith and walk in the footsteps of Jesus, the prophets, and apostles? Join us on a trip to the Holy Land of Israel from 1st to 10th November 2023. Israel is not just a beautiful country, it is the land of the Bible, of milk and honey, the land of miracles, and where our Savior Jesus Christ was born. This is an opportunity to experience your Bible come to life, to see where the foundation of our faith all began, and visit sites where Jesus did miracles. The total cost for this experience is $2,350 US. Make a deposit of $500 US via NCBA Bank Paybill number 880100, account number 6414090018, account name Ozima Investment Limited. For more information, call Esther on 0717 662 542 or Charlie on 0700 412 045. Join us on this unforgettable journey to the Holy Land of Israel. Let's experience the living Word of God together. Don't miss out.
Welcome back. This is the GSG report. We are talking about land and, land titles and the push for digitization. Very, very important conversation. There are developments that you need to be aware of. One of these days, there will be an advert. There will be an advertisement referring to land in specific areas, especially in Nairobi. You better look out for that advertisement, because once that advertisement runs, you have 90 days to file an appeal, a caution, or any discomfort you have with that piece of land in case there are problems. So you're mentioning something that is very crucial, that the move to digitize. You've talked about the maps, the new maps, Cadasco,
Yes.
Cadasco, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the technical name for the maps. And then the advertisement that is soon going to be coming out because of the need to migrate old titles
Yes.
to the new platform. So I think there are questions that, a number of questions that rise. One, you said there is the caution. So if somebody has a concern, or
Yes.
you are in the process of transferring and parties have not agreed,
Yes.
especially on succession issues, then what you need to do is to raise that
Concern.
issue, file it
Yes.
as a caution, and then now you can go on with the process, and then the transfer can be done later when the parties have agreed.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe expound a little bit on that.
So within Nairobi, a key thing to note is that within Nairobi, the advertisement is already out. We are now waiting for the advertisement for Kiambu and Kajiado.
Okay.
And after that, when you do the registration of the caution and those other things, and the ministry register a caution, it means that there is no dealing that can happen on that register. And therefore that is closed until the time they do the conversion, and then they address your issue later on.
Okay.
For those who do not have an objection with the process going on and they do not want to register any caution, then we go to the other step. The other step is where now the ministry will ask the members of public and will invite the members of public to bring their title deeds to the ministry, the older title deeds. So
Okay.
you surrender the older one, and the ministry opens a new register and they give you a new title.
Okay.
That process should have, ideally, was supposed to take around a month or so, and you have a new title, and the other one is kept in a safe place. And doing that, by the time they are giving you a new title, they are migrating you and giving you a new title, they have already done the digital part of it.
Okay.
Therefore, they have scanned the new title, the older one, and it's kept somewhere very safe. Then when they do that, there are worries and questions that arise out of that. People asking, when I do the conversion of my title, will I lose the size, the boundary, the ownership, and also those things? Mm-hmm. Remember, these new maps that are being prepared, and you're given an opportunity for you to raise a concern. It is for you to look at the size, the boundary, and the ownership of your property at that time. Mm. And if those ones are affected, then you raise a concern with the ministry.
Okay.
They register a caution. If it was not affected during the advertisement of the map, then the title will come out with the same details as the map, the one that we started with. And therefore the issue of the size, the ownership, and the boundaries, those ones will never be affected by that process of conversion.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think for the for the person who is sitting on a piece of land in Kenya, there are no issues, there are no, there have not been any disputes, for example. They need not be worried. That's what you are saying.
Yes.
It's only that there will be, the advertisement is out about the conversion.
Yes.
So then the next stage is going to be the minister now calling the old titles. And then so, go to your drawer if it is with the, now, so let's do a bit of, explore that. If your title is with the bank, what happens?
So that's another concern. Because remember, the owner of the property is the one to do the conversion. They are the ones who are allowed to do the conversion. You register an account with Adisasa, and that account is captured at the ministry. And therefore, I start the process from that end. Prepare all the documents, scan them and upload, and then they are verified and done on the other end. Okay. But remember, there are a lot and millions of titles with the bank and other credit facilities. Okay. So the issue has been who does the conversion on that end. And there are talks with the banks because they are the persons who holds these titles for them to start now having their own portal where they can be able to upload the documents, do the verification part of it all. Then after, when they do the discharge, that document is now transferred to the owner.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe you should also tell some of the young upcoming advocates there's a lot of work to be done. A lot, especially on the issues of land. So if you are a lawyer or an upcoming, I hear, by the way, there is a difference between a lawyer and an advocate. Yes. A lawyer is that guy who's just come off college. Yes. He's not been admitted to the bar. Yes. He's just a good lawyer. He can write a few contracts, but he has no power to really perform. Yes. But until you become an advocate, that's when you get the paper, the license, and the stamp. So wonderful. So, John, so you're saying that we still have a lot of work to be done. Banks have to kind of get into the game because a lot of people really, you don't want to keep your title in the house if you can leverage it and maybe buy a land or build, construct and stuff like that. Okay. Now, let's talk about, so that's a big issue. Let's talk about the sticking issue of land and corruption. What's the future like?
With this government, we can only hope for the best. Okay. But we are seeing the court starting to deliver certain judgments that are giving us a lot of hope, touching on very powerful people. Because the issues of transaction, land transaction, they are very clear. It's a laid process that is there. So if you did not follow the procedure of you owning that property, then and there is a dispute in court, it's so easy to win a land case. And therefore, you just need to know the process where it begins and where it ends and have the documentation for that. And therefore, all the cases for lands are not won in court. They are won in chambers because you prepare those documents and know that I did a search, first of all. That gave me the historical part of that property. Then after that, I went to the physical property and I did something we call physical search. Yes. And here we have a lot of issues with advocates because there are people who just stay in their offices. So you come to me, you want to purchase a property and you tell me the property is in Mwiki and I do not go to Mwiki. I do not actually know where Mwiki is. And therefore I do the paperwork and I book the documents and at the end of it all, you find that you bought hot air because there was nothing at the end of it all. Yeah. So prudent advocates, what they do is that before they do the agreement, the purchase agreement, the sale agreement, by the time you give them the instructions that you tell them, I want you to do 1, 2, 3 for me, I am purchasing this property. The first thing they do is that they will ask for a search for that property. When the search is out, they will look for a day when they will go to the site, see the property, see whether it has any person on that property, see how the topography of that property and advise you on the same. Because you'll find that if you purchase a property today, you want to purchase a property today, and there is a squatter who came there on that property 12 years ago. Right. And they go to court. They ask for ownership of that property. And remember, the entry point was illegal. It was not legal. It was illegal. They entered that property illegally. And they have stayed in that property for 12 years. Yes. And you are coming to purchase that property and they are in court claiming ownership. You have lost that property. Wow. Because after 12 years, that property is counted as their own property.
I think that's very, very serious. You've been warned. You've been warned. You could be sitting there and, just, hoping and waiting, and you have some piece of land somewhere in some very far corner of Nairobi or elsewhere in the country. And actually you lost the land a long time ago and you're not aware. So very, very careful.
Yes.
That you need. But in case there is somebody who is squatting on your land, and you don't want to have a fight, you don't want to be shot or killed, because you can see those guys are sitting there and they are not friendly. Can you then go through the legal process and file an eviction and all that? Would that help?
Absolutely. Yes. Remember, it is all illegal from the first year to the 12th year.
Yes.
That person is occupying your land illegally.
Okay.
Therefore, during that period, you have the right to go to court, run to court, seek for an eviction, and that person will be evicted from your property.
Okay.
If they have not gotten to the 12th year.
Okay.
But the moment they get to the 12th year and they plead that is their property, we call it advanced possession.
Yes.
They plead that I own this property because it is advanced possession.
Yes.
That's the end of the matter. You lose your property.
Okay.
Yes.
There was a case, and thank God I can remember this. There was a case recently in Mombasa about some government property where somebody was making a claim, and I think they had developed the property, and then the county went to court, and the reversal was done actually. Yes. and I think there were many years, kind of thing. Can you speak to that? What exactly happened?
So remember, most of the time, the issues of advanced possession, most of the time will affect the issues of private properties. Okay. There's no way you can steal from the government and the government has to purchase you.
Okay.
So what happens is that in such cases, and we have seen that happening a lot, especially Mombasa. We have had 2 Supreme cases this year deciding on that matter. What happens is that you will find the person who is coming on that property is a person who, by them getting the ownership of that property, the procedure they followed, it's because they knew someone else somewhere in the Ministry of Land. And therefore, maybe it was a forest land, it was community land, and they were given the title in their name. Remember, the government owns this record. They know that a certain piece of land, that is government land. Okay. Therefore, one day they will allow you do your development, but one day they will come for that property. Yes, and that is what is happening.
So government property, that you're not getting away with.
Yes.
Private property,
it's easy.
So because the government will say, we don't know what happened.
Yes.
Maybe you allowed the guy, maybe you even verbally give them the land.
Yes.
And you are refusing to transfer it to them. So after 12 years,
it's done.
It's your word against theirs. And if they say they prove they have been on that land, squatting on your land for 12 years, we give it to them.
Yes.
Okay. But government land you're not getting. Wonderful. I think you've been warned. So thank you very much, John. I think you really helped clarify a lot of issues. But let's talk about something else that I think is also very crucial. The whole issue of duplicate titles, the duplicity of titles.
Yes.
A very sticking point. So you could be having a piece of land somewhere, and then somebody else actually has a title to that same physical piece, and on and on. And we have seen chains where there are 3 or 4 people disputing over the same piece of land, and they have an actual title, which when you search in there, it's there. So what happens?
Because you are my friend, I am going to tell you directly and openly.
Yes.
Any property from Thika Road going towards Ruiru,
right,
on your way towards Machakos, Kirinyaga, where the counties meet. This is the meeting point for, I think, 3 counties, Murang'a, Nyeri, and Tharaka Nithi.
Yes.
Going towards that area. If you find someone coming to you and selling something called the allotment.
Yes.
To you. And that allotment has the name scheme. Scheme number, so and so. They will start with the name Ruiru scheme, so and so.
Yes.
And it is not a title.
Yes.
Be wary of such a thing.
Okay.
Why? Because number one, these are people who came together. Maybe they were squatters. They came together and they were given very big chunks of land.
Okay.
Very prime land. And when they did so, most of them have died and they are not there. So the people who are selling these properties, it's their beneficiaries,
Okay.
the children who are left. And therefore you will find that I am selling and my brother is also selling.
Okay.
And we both have the copy of the title, because the copy of the allotment, because it's document we can be able to access. At the end of it all, you will find that one land is being claimed by around 3 or 4 people.
Okay.
Then, because this is Kenya, all of us have been able to produce a title
Okay.
out of that property.
Okay.
And now that is what we call duplicity of the title, meaning that one piece of land, instead of having one title, it has more than one title. It has 2 or 3 titles, or it has 3 or 4 parties coming together, not coming together, people who are claiming ownership on that property.
Okay.
And therefore, when we were coming to the issues of digitalization, it was in a way to come and solve that issue. But
Okay.
I'm able, before I purchase the property, I know who is the real owner.
Okay.
Because I have that information on my phone, on my laptop. I'm able to just search and see, you are telling me your name is Gichuki and you're selling this property. The owner of this property is called Kamau. Then if you are Gichuki, you are not able to sell it because the owner is Kamau. That information, even before you do the search, you're able to access that.
Okay.
And therefore, we needed to address that. And we have seen improvement on that. Especially on the properties where they are titled. Because the Land Registration Act, Section 26 states that title is the absolute evidence of ownership of each parcel of land.
Okay.
And therefore, a person who holds a title, we presume that by the time you own that title, you hold that title, and you are the owner, you hold that title, you are the owner of that property.
Okay.
If you go today to court, and you have a title and I do not have a title, you have won the case. You are at 80%, I am at 20%.
Yes.
Because you have the title. And
Right.
it will take a lot of work for me to revoke your title.
Okay.
Therefore, when we have many titles being produced in court, the court now goes back to the historical part of that property.
Okay.
They look at something we call a green card, and they see how the transactions were being done. Because by the time you're having duplicity of the title, it means 2 or 3 titles are not captured in the historical part of it. And therefore, they're able to sort that issue using the historical search.
So the green card, eh?
Yes.
And do you need, maybe we are making it too easy for the conveyance guys, but anyway, let's share the information with, all our friends, because we like you. So we are sharing the information with you. So if you hold a title and is written a scheme, what do you need to do?
So number one is that you need to, I advise my clients, number one, not to purchase allotments.
Okay.
Because allotment is not recognized as a document of ownership.
That is, if a SACCO, for example, has bought 100 acres
Yes.
and allotted
Yes.
the 1,500 titles.
Yes.
I think you should know clearly that is an allotment letter, it's not a title.
Yes.
So
And it's
that's
not an
clear.
ownership document.
Okay. Number 2, for example, Rueiro, Thika, all those schemes out there, they're very, very many.
Yes.
What has happened to the schemes? Have the schemes, kind of the titles they issue, the allotments, have they now been converted to real titles?
Yes, most of the schemes, I am seeing them starting to produce the titles. And I believe even President Uhuru Kenyatta started giving out some titles to certain schemes, those that did not have a lot of dispute.
Embakasi, for example.
Embakasi, that's a deadly issue.
Oh,
it's a
okay.
big issue.
Okay.
Yes.
But it's an example
Yes.
of something that started off as a scheme.
Yes.
And of course, there are many complications because there has been a lot of turnaround there.
Yes.
And it's a very, very, hot,
Yes,
hot product.
Embakasi ranching is a big issue.
Okay.
We do not even know how the government will be able to sort that.
Okay.
Because you are finding around 20 people coming claiming a plot.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that's a big issue. So duplication remains a problem for some sections of, especially some historically complicated sections.
Yes.
So, and people should be very careful.
Yes.
But if you go to freehold, perhaps maybe you can also mention a little bit about the difference between freehold. If you buy land in Kiambu,
Yes.
that's probably freehold.
Yes.
You could touch that a little bit.
Yes. So what happens is that you will find that most of the commercial properties, we try and give them what we call leasehold.
Okay.
And a leasehold is where you are given a period of time. You are leasing that property from the government. The government is the owner of that property. They've only given you a lease for you to develop that property, stay in that property for 99 years.
Okay.
The reason why we do that is because of land ownership issues. In towns, you will find that it was to address the ownership issues, because you will find that a few people own a lot of properties. And therefore, when that lease expires at the 99 years, and I am there as a squatter, and I know your title lease is expiring tomorrow, and you are not aware of it, I do the application to the Ministry of Land. I tell them I know there is a lease that is about to expire or it has expired, and the owner is not interested in the renewal. Can you renew that property on my end? And therefore, that by me doing that, the ownership changes.
Okay.
Therefore, your building and everything else will move from being owned by you to being owned by me.
Okay.
That is leasehold. Freehold is freehold because it is agricultural property, where we are not having a lot of commercial things happening. It is set aside for farming and such things. And therefore, you are given freehold to encourage you continue farming forever and us not disturbing the freehold title. Actually, in some discussions that were there when Kibaki was the president, was that we needed to have the smallest and the biggest titles for agricultural land, that you cannot go below a certain size and you are not able to go above a certain level, so that we stop the mutation of these properties. Because what we are doing right now, and a lot of damage has been done by these companies that are selling land, is that you will find them going to Kilifi, taking 100 acres, dividing those 100 acres into a quarter an acre, and selling those properties to 100 or 1,000 or 2,000 people. Okay. What we have done is that we have turned agricultural land into a commercial land by then. Though you have an absolute title, but you cannot be able to, it cannot be able to make any sense when it comes to agriculture, because it's like a very small property.
Yeah.
And therefore, what Kibaki and that regime was trying to do is that they tried to say, if you have property that is agricultural, you are not allowed to do the subdivision. And I believe we need to get to that level, because one of the key factor and element of our economy is agriculture.
Right.
So if we continue with this subdivision, people getting a title for a quarter, an eighth, 50 by 100, 60 by 40, then at the end of it all, what we are doing is that we are killing the agriculture. And therefore, the government is trying, and I know there are elements where they are trying to work on that and ensure that freehold land will not be subdivided and people will not be given those small titles. I have seen a scheme in other countries what they do. If you have an absolute title, that land cannot be subdivided, but we can lease it out. I own it forever.
Okay.
Therefore, I can give you 20 years. Come farm. If you want an acre, come farm, but the land still belongs to me.
Oh, wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful. I think that's very, very interesting. And I really clearly, I think you've shed a lot of light in these matters. For the sake of some of our friends and your friends who are in the conveyance business,
Yes.
perhaps I wanted to find out if there are opportunities, and even people who care, who want to get involved in that work. They don't need to be lawyers. They
Yes.
just need to be familiar with the system. Where are the opportunities for conveyance entrepreneurs?
Yes.
I mean, I don't mean the guys who steal people's land.
Yes.
I mean, quote unquote.
Yes.
So entrepreneurs have a bad reputation. But I mean the enterprise
Yes.
of conveyance.
Yes.
Are there opportunities? Where are the opportunities?
I believe investment in land is one of the key elements when it comes to business in Kenya. And therefore, any investment touching on land is not a lost investment. And that is the reason I have just been talking about the companies that are subdividing land. Because one of the easiest way nowadays to get rich is for you to start a real estate company. Because
Okay.
you'll go to Malindi, Kilifi, get those 100 acres at a few coins, then subdivide, sell each and every eighth at 400, 200, and you make billions of money out of that.
Yeah.
Therefore, there is a lot of investment of opportunity when it comes to land. For people who want to sell properties, that is number one. There is also other unique investments, like you find that you own a property here in Nairobi, in the town center, or in Karen, or any other commercial place, and you're not able to bring up a skyscraper. You do not have the money to do that work. What is happening right now because of the sectional title, and I believe we are going to touch on that, you'll find that someone will come, take your 50 by 100, construct a building, you do something we call a JV, joint venture, they construct the building, and they will tell you the value of this property, the way it is, the bare land, is 100 million. By the time we do this project, we are done with this project, the value of this property will be 300 million. And therefore, at the end of it all, we are going to take 80% or 70%, and we are going to give you 30%. What it means if they give you 40 or 30% of 300 million, because they are going to do the whole structure, and then they are going to give you maybe 20 houses. At the end of it all, you will find that you have been able to double your profit out of that property.
Okay.
And therefore, those investments are starting to come up. I know a few here in Westlands and others in Karen, and I believe that is where we are headed, where people do not hold to their titles, but they release the title for them to be more richer.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, so in other words, there is opportunity. Don't just sit on land.
Yes.
Don't just hold on a piece of paper. There are people, entrepreneurs, and who are willing to actually help multiply your wealth.
Yes.
And there are also maybe opportunities for those who help people do that, and lawyers and all that. All right, so as we end, what else are we not talking about? Maybe there's something we are leaving out.
I think the only issue is now to touch on the issue of sectional property.
Yes.
And this is a new law that came into place in the year 2020, where now people are allowed to own sectional titles. And a sectional title is where you are able to own a title in the air.
Okay.
Remember, all the other titles, they must be attached to land. But now we are starting to build townhouses. We are doing apartments where you can own a title to an apartment, and therefore if you want to transfer, you want to charge, you can be able to charge that certificate. Therefore it's a very interesting aspect, and it's going on in Nairobi and Kiambu very, very much.
Okay, all right. I know we don't have enough time. We've run out of time. Maybe next time we can talk about sectional titles and gated communities and stuff like that, but we've got to come to an end. So perhaps look at that camera, and in 20 seconds, one final advice.
My advice to all the people who want to invest in land is that Africa, and especially Kenya, is one of the best hubs for land investment, and you are very much welcome. We have seen a lot of investment coming from diaspora, coming to Kenya and other African countries, and we keep on asking you to continue investing in Kenya and in Africa, because that is where the next big thing is going to happen.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've been blessed and informed and educated in this particular show, and you've learned a lot. There are huge opportunities in land, and of course there are cautions, and we hope that we've opened your eyes and given you information that is valuable. God bless you so much. Keep it Elevate TV. We'll see you another day for a similar program, educational program, and may the Lord bless you. See you next time. God bless you. Bye.